Hey there, welcome into Unpaid Interns. It is Friday, December 18th. It is the last day of the fall semester at Indiana University, Bloomington, and we finish our week with one final episode of Senior Spotlight. And we have not one, but two graduating seniors on today, and two of my personal favorites, though I try not to pick favorites, DJ Fezler and Phil Steinmetz. And I guess I say that I think DJ and Phil might have been the first two people at the IU Media School that I ever communicated with before I was a freshman. So I really appreciate you guys coming on today right before you graduate.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here. Especially today is I think at 3:30 we do have the media school graduation, so it's a big day.
We're getting them right their last couple hours before they go off into the real world and are no longer college students. And just wanted to start off my first question by elaborating on that, and we can start with you, DJ. Just how are you feeling about graduating, especially in these strange times?
Man, these past couple weeks, I haven't known what to feel until I get into certain situations. We had our final IDS meeting last Friday, and that was sad. But talking to everyone, trying to reminisce about all the memories I've had there the past 3 years. It was tough, but I'm excited to start looking ahead to the future, but I'm obviously going to miss all the things I've been able to do in college so far.
Yeah, it feels weird. Like it doesn't feel real, I guess yet. It hasn't hit me. Even though I haven't written in a while, and that's weird in itself. So, and I haven't been with IDS this year anyways because I've been working for the Herald Times. I don't know. Especially I only had one class in the media school this year. That was really strange. Since we only had to show up once a week. Shout out to Jim for that. But I don't know. It's just I know these next 2 days are supposed to be very big in our lives, but I don't know. It still doesn't feel real.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly a strange semester for you guys to graduate in, but you guys have done so much over your last 4 or so years at the IU Media School. Both of you guys have been editors with the IDS at the sports desk and done a bunch of writing for a variety of outlets. What's maybe one of your most proudest accomplishments, or one you look back on with a lot of pride over the last couple of years? We'll start with you, Phil.
So I'm really fortunate I've covered, I want to say 5 different beats. I went from women's soccer as a freshman to softball to men's soccer to Little Five, and then sports editor, then was men's basketball reporter, then was a sports editor again, and now I covered IU student life amid the pandemic for the Herald Times this semester. So I guess one type thing I'm kind of proud of is I really tried to do I was able to do a pretty big feature story my sophomore and junior years. And I think especially the one that I came out with junior year, which came out last February. It was kind of looking back on it because it came out a month before really the pandemic started. Just kind of perfect timing of when IU baseball was still a thing and they were about to face LSU. And I did this really big story. I went to high school with Gabe Bierman, and I worked on this over 5 months. I knew I wanted to do it since the summer, but kind of due to scheduling conflicts, I didn't get to do it till the semester started. But I was really fortunate since there was other stories not on him, and even though I didn't win a national award for the story, I was just most proud of that. Even though there were other stories done on the same subject on him and his dad, his mom told me that I was the first one to get everything right and tell the story how it really needed to be told. So I think that's the thing I'm most proud of looking back, that I was able to really impact a lot of different lives telling all these unique stories.
And how about you, DJ?
Yeah, I definitely haven't covered as many beats as Phil has.
He's done it all.
Yeah, he's been all over the place doing a whole bunch of different stories. But I think some of the proudest moments for me were when I was an editor. I just felt, even though being an editor was stressful, I was an editor for back-to-back semesters. I just felt so much gratification that I was able to help some of the younger writers kind of steer them on the right path. And it always made me feel good when I would see people constantly improve over the course of whether it be that first semester or the next semester after. It felt like I was doing something right. There were so many IDS members that saw constant improvement. Some of them are editors now for this upcoming semester, and that's made me extremely proud to kind of be at least a small step in their journalism journey. You know what I mean?
Certainly. Phil, you're kind of talking about one of your feature stories, and I think one thing that maybe people don't realize on the outside is, yeah, journalists, write the pregame and they write the postgame recap, and those are written real quickly. But how enriching, I guess, is writing a feature story, and what's kind of the process? I mean, I know sometimes those can take months, which people don't realize how much time and effort can get put into just one story.
Yeah, it's my viewpoint on them has changed through the years as I've grown as a journalist. Like coming in, I thought you had to have all this time and just do like one feature story a semester. But then I quickly realized that there's situations to where 500 words can be a feature story. 800 words can be a feature story. It doesn't have to be this 1,500 to 2,000 word story that of course are great, but at the same time, like you can you can say what you need to say in a shorter kind of word count. I was really fortunate to do that with, for example, like I did a story on an IU men's basketball fan who was in his first game, and everybody saw this tweet go viral of him receiving tickets for Christmas. He went to the Ohio State game last year, and I was able to meet up with him that weekend, cover the Ohio State game on Saturday, wrote the story on Sunday, and published it on the front page on Monday. And that was about 800 to 1,000 words, and I wrote that in 2 hours. So it's just kind of a unique situation, and it's kind of a case by case thing. And it really depends. Like you see, all these journalism classes, usually you work on a project and you spend months doing it, and that's the only thing that they do for the entire semester. And so it's really case by case basis, but you can really tell stories in multiple different ways.
And moving on, I mean, you guys talk about some of your proudest accomplishments. I think the other fun thing to look back at it is just memories and stories from times in the IU Media School and in sports media. Well, we'll start with DJ. What's maybe a memory, a story, whether covering a game or just working in the newsroom that will stick with you for the rest of your life?
Oh yeah, I always think back to my first beat covering the IU cross country teams. It was my first times traveling to cover a game. The second time I left Bloomington, I went to Wisconsin to cover the 2018 NCAA National Championship. I think it was like the first time in 5 or 6 years that both the men's and women's team qualified in the same year. I wasn't required to go, but I just wanted to because I thought it was a big thing, and it was something that I felt was important to cover on my first beat. I get to Wisconsin and it's freezing cold. It's like 30 degrees. It's snowing. It's still astounding to me how these cross country runners are running outside in like tank tops and shorts, and they're just wearing gloves. That's what's keeping them warm. But yeah, I'm running around like through the middle portions of this cross country track trying to get videos for Twitter. I have to take my gloves off every time to be able to click the record button. My fingers are freezing cold by the end of it. But it was still super fun. It was still a super fun experience to see a national championship environment, even in a sport that to most is considered smaller in cross country. But I feel like that semester, my first beat was really just what launched me forward into the things I was able to do in my later semesters.
Yeah, people don't realize how challenging cross country is to cover. You almost have to become a little bit of a mini runner yourself, trying to catch up with the runners and get as much of the route as possible. How
Super
about
fun.
for you, Phil? What's a memorable or fun story for you over the last couple of years?
Um, so I'll probably say the most memorable thing for me was getting to cover the College Cup my sophomore year. That was such a great experience of how at first I didn't know if I was going to be able to go. I used one of the best teams in the country. We kind of assumed they would get there after because in NCAA tournament, it's really strange of how the higher seed gets to host the game up until the College Cup, which is like the Final Four. So we knew IU was going to host all these games and eventually play Notre Dame. And we were already kind of looking at flights the night before, just kind of seeing where we were at. And then the IDS, uh, luckily through the IDS Legacy Fund, we were given a stipend saying since they were me and Dylan Wallace were two reporters, and then we had Matt Begala as our photographer. They're like, "Here's the three of you. We want you to go. Here's the money we're going to give you, but that's it." And we're really fortunate at the media school with Galen Clavio and everybody else. They provided housing and transportation, so all we had to do is pay for the plane tickets, and that was the first time I ever was on a plane. It was kind of nerve wracking considering we flew economy. First day we're in the very back of the plane, the very last seats, going to California, and on the way back we flew Spirit, which is a very cramped, small airplane, and that was kind of scary since we had also since it's ridiculously high price to pay for overhead storage for your luggage. So Dylan and I just stuffed everything we had into backpacks and just crammed them under our seats. And that was something I'll never forget. Just that whole weekend experience. Unfortunately, IU lost the first game in the College Cup to Maryland, considering they beat them twice during the regular season, and so it's hard to beat team three times. So I guess it was kind of worked out because then that Saturday we got to just walk around California and spend time with everybody. Um, so I think that's something that I'm always going to remember and cherish is that weekend, especially in California.
Santa Barbara is certainly a special place. I've gotten the privilege to spend some time there with some family there. I've asked all the seniors that have come on this week about IU football. It feels like this podcast has been half an IU football podcast. So I know DJ reports on the team, and Phil, obviously you've watched the team a lot over the last couple of years. We're almost at the end of the season. We'll get a bowl game announcement on Sunday. What are your guys' just kind of thoughts on the team and as seniors? You kind of started when Tom Allen started, and now you're finishing when IU is really turning this program around.
This team has been unbelievable to cover. We kind of saw the improvements that they were making last year. It just didn't necessarily translate to those big wins on the field. And I know even before the season began, you have all those preseason predictions. You have record predictions. We did a story at the IDS just kind of compiling all of our accolades for the end of the year. I think it'd be cool to revisit those, when the season is over. But I can't think of anyone that was thinking IU was going to be this good, and it's been such a pleasant surprise. And just the fire that Tom Allen brings to this program it's unbelievable. It's so difficult to even put into words because it's just not something we all expected. And now they're competing with some of the best teams in the country. And I've been there to cover it every step of the way, and it's been super fun.
Yeah, it's been surreal to see. The first IU game I ever attended, I was freshman year whenever we played Ohio State in that night game. I believe College Game Day was there, and everyone was like, is it gonna happen? Maybe, and then it didn't. And then which came to no surprise. And then I was fortunate because I got to cover a single IU football game last year. I did that for the Herald Bulletin. I forgot who they were playing, but it's when IU won. I think it was like 51-0. It was like the first shutout in Memorial Stadium in a really long time. So that was a lot of fun to cover. Very stressful because the elevator went out, so we had to walk up and down like 3 times. and my feet had blisters. It was like my heels were bleeding. It was not fun. So that was something I always remember. And then so I don't know. It was, and then now I'm a fan, and I do tweet a lot, and I just also I want to say it's ridiculous that they're only number 11 in the playoff ranking. We'll get that out of the way. They should be number 7, like an AP poll, but that's neither here or there. But I'm excited to see. Obviously, I'm kind of glad they haven't played this past 2 weeks so they can get healthy, and it kind of troubling that they had all those COVID positive tests after the Wisconsin game. But hey, it happens, especially in today's society. So I'm just glad that there was no chance for an upset to happen, and IU's in a pretty good spot to hopefully. Everyone's saying that they play USC in the Fiesta Bowl, so I'm really hoping that for our senior year that they can actually finally pull this off.
That would certainly be a fun matchup in Indiana. Still trying to win a bowl game for the first time since the 80s. And you heard Phil talking about the stairs at Memorial Stadium. I've done those about 7 levels up. Those are quite a workout. If there's one thing that Memorial Stadium could use repairs on, the press box and getting to the press box could certainly use some improvement. Well, guys, the next segment, you guys have been around the media school for so long. You guys have certainly mentored me, and I just want some wisdom from you guys, especially for younger students, freshmen and sophomores. What's your advice for getting to where you guys are now as award-winning seniors? We'll start with you, Phil.
This is something I've been kind of reflecting on a lot because I've been really fortunate, especially last year as a sports editor. When DJ and I were sports editors together, it was a lot of fun. It was both time him and I, coming off a Little 5 beat together. We were both sports editors for the first time, editors in general for the first time. And I remember how I was telling him, I was kind of freaking out because looking at it on paper, we had like 2 or 3 reporters returning. And him and I were kind of having trouble of like, okay, who are these freshmen? We need to see samples. We need to see this and that. Who we're going to put where? And with that, I was really fortunate. We have since we had a guy like Tyler, as you all know, who stood out early as a freshman and is now a great writer for Inside the Hall. But he reached out to me early, asked for advice, and I've kind of mentored him these past 2 years. And so I think that's one of the main things, like advice I give anybody, is to just get involved early. I know it can be kind of nerve-wracking. It can be. I know I was certainly nervous as a freshman to get involved. I was really fortunate that I applied for the IDS the summer heading into freshman year and literally had my orientation with IDS during my freshman orientation before I even moved into campus. So I got all that out of the way. And I know things are kind of different now. But at the same time, even I still recommend everybody needs to reach out to professional journalists or whatever field you want to be in. Just get advice and see how they do things, considering I know IU Media has such an extensive alumni association, and everyone is more than willing to help. So I think definitely get involved early and don't be scared to just ask for help or ask for advice of how to kind of find your groove here, because once you do, it becomes a really special place.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I would certainly recommend getting started early. I was one of the people that didn't. I joined the IDS my sophomore year, and I look back on it and I do regret it, but I didn't have a whole ton of experience coming from high school. So as Phil said, it is kind of nerve-wracking, and I took that year to kind of get acclimated to Bloomington before coming to the IDS, and it's led to where I am now. But other than that, when you start early, you do kind of have to work on some of those smaller beats, but I always try to tell people just try and make those small beats fun. Report on them to the best of your abilities. You're probably not going to get 100 likes on stories from cross country. I certainly didn't, but I had a fun time talking with players and coaches. You have unrivaled access there. You're not really competing with other media members for questions on those small beats. So it's really a good start for some of those younger writers to kind of build their skills and then eventually work their way up to some of those bigger beats. Also, try to just read your peers' work. I think just like sharing your stories with other people and then reading other people's stories, you can kind of compare and contrast different styles, pick up what might be working for other writers, maybe what isn't working for you. It's all about just finding your unique voice. And the more you're reading other people's work, I feel like the more you can kind of reflect on your own writing and kind of implement some different styles into it.
That's really great advice from both of you guys. They're both definitely great writers. And I know both you guys looking for jobs, maybe have jobs lined up. Don't want to ask for any specifics. Maybe we'll learn stuff in the next coming months. But do want to ask, if you could have any job in sports media, a dream job, what would you choose? I'll start with DJ.
Oh, man, that's so tough because I feel like I've rethought my dream job so many different times, especially this year as I'm getting closer to breaking out into the real world. I would say, I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like writing for whether it be a professional team, not even necessarily covering a professional team for like a newspaper, but like maybe somewhere along the line, I could become a staff writer for a professional team, follow a team around. It's a little more PR oriented. But I feel like settling for just one team and just writing stories, game stories, feature stories, I feel like that'd be something that I would enjoy. For sure.
How about you, Phil?
It's an easy and a hard question. If you would have asked me when I started writing when I was in 8th grade, crazy thing, that was so long ago. I would have said, even probably up to last year, that I would want to be a senior writer for Sports Illustrated, because of seeing like these cover stories that they do has always fascinated me. I've always wanted to be that type of reporter who, not necessarily like the day-to-day grind of beat reporting, but just like give me an assignment and give me 3 months to do it, and I'll give you 10,000 words on it. That's something that I always wanted to do, and maybe I still get to do that someday. But even now, like, honestly, I don't know if I want to stick in sports journalism. After everything that's happened this year, I haven't consistently covered sports in 9 months. Since with the Herald Times, I was a news intern, covered some sports on the side, and then I just covered Irish student life this semester. It's kind of changed my viewpoint and things on what's sort of important to me. So I don't know. I would say, like, honestly, as long as I end up somewhere just as a reporter and a journalist and storyteller, at a place that gives me opportunity to, with a staff that trusts me, and a community that allows me to tell stories that matter to them, then I'm going to be happy. That's all I really want in the day, is to be part of a staff that allows me to do what I do best, and that's just tell stories that matter.
Well, we're going to finish off the show with having a little bit of fun. We're going to do a little rapid fire, some quick questions, most of them pretty fun. I try to keep it to around 30 seconds. I don't know if I'm going to make it like around the horn and award more points for who has the better answer, but we'll see how it goes. And we'll start with the first question. Who's your favorite IU player that you've covered? We'll start with DJ.
Oh, man, I'm going to throw it back to I wrote a story on Rick Hoy Brathwaite on the track and field team. He's just a load of fun to be around, had a lot of interesting backstory, and I always check up on his results whenever I can, even though I'm not covering the team anymore.
I'm going to say Rebecca Blitz from IU softball from my freshman year is the first big kind of feature story I did, and she was a superstar for IU softball for so many years. It was just really cool to see her kind of leadership with the team, of how that was the first year with Shauna Stanton and their kind of rise from there. And she was such a fun person to interview and be around.
Those were very creative, out of the box answers. So I'll call that one a tie. That was a good job by both of you. Next question for you guys. I've asked this to everyone this week and gotten some fun answers. Something that people don't know are all the interesting and maybe strange classes at IU outside of the media school. So far this week, I've heard classes about chimpanzees and some Polish folklore. I was wondering what your guys' favorite or most notable class that's outside of media or sports has been at your time at IU. We'll start with Phil.
Um, Trying to think. I haven't really enjoyed too many of my classes outside of media school because my mind is kind of like journalism, journalism, journalism. But I don't know. I took like a mafia class was really cool, and I did take a folklore class of like urban legends, and that was really interesting.
The majority of my classes outside of the media school have been math classes. So I'm sure people don't want to hear about like calculus and things like that. So I'm going to kind of
That's
cheat.
not very fun.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of cheat on this question. I did take a history of video games class that was inside the media school, but that course was that was super fun. I had a great semester.
Yeah, I took a video games course as well. I totally even forgot that I did, but I was in media school. I did take a religion and sports class that was outside of media school, and that was cool.
There's just so many classes at IU, and for younger students out there, don't be afraid to take something crazy. It might be awful, it might be great, but you may as well try it.
Hey, it can boost your GPA, so there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question for you guys. What is your go-to meal on campus? You want to get a quick bite really quickly. DJ, we'll start with you.
Quick meal on campus. I mean, we went over to Goodfellas so many times during the when we were back in the newsroom. Have to grab one of those lunch specials, a slice of pizza, a drink, and a breadstick. That's the go-to.
Yeah, I'm going to say that Goodfellas is off campus, so that answer doesn't count.
Oh, that is correct.
Even though it's so close and we all love it, I've spent a ridiculous amount of money there. On campus, I would go back to my freshman year at Ripe Food Court. I just think the chicken wraps are the greatest thing in the world and are so good. I was really it stunk last year. They didn't have them often, I think, or even my sophomore year, but freshman year, I lived off those chicken wraps and they were amazing.
I'll second that.
I think Phil wins that one at Goodfellas. I thought you meant Good Body for a second. Goodfellas, though, should be on campus, but it's not on campus.
Yeah, it's so close.
Build the point on that. All right, next question for you guys. Writing specific, and some people enjoy it, some don't. AP style. As editors, what was the most annoying thing that you found that writers did that violated AP style or violated IDS rules? We'll start with DJ.
I don't know how many times I had to tell people when to use its versus their when talking about. You have IU, the team. So IU won its third game of the season or something like that. But when you talk about the Hoosiers, that's them. The Hoosiers won their third game. People at the IDS mix that up early in their years, and that's something we got to kind of hammer into their skull over the course of a couple semesters.
It's kind of weird how like IDS and AP style have the same kind of basis, but IDS has their own set of style guide that we had to take 100. I don't know, DJ, if you had to take the 100 question test on the IDS style. I never even got my grade back for it, so I wonder how I did. But a lot of people either don't spell out states when you have the city, or B, like some people like to capitalize the sport in their early time, or include full names throughout the whole thing. So I don't know. I'm just I was never AP style and grammar was never my forte, so I kind of let DJ handle that, and I was more kind of a big picture type of guy. So
yeah, a lot of little nuances that people sometimes mess up, and sometimes shout out to the copy desk. I pull my hair
copy desk multiple times. The copy desk is the real MVP out there.
Oh yeah, copy desk at the IDS, definitely the real MVPs.
Well, speaking of all the people in the IDS, we know there's a lot of characters at the Indiana Daily Student. In a normal year, you get to spend a lot of time in the newsroom. Who's maybe the most fun person that you've spent time with at the Indiana Daily Student in the newsroom? Now we'll start with Phil.
Man, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this question. I don't know. I'm gonna sorry, DJ. But I'm probably gonna I'm gonna say Dylan Wallace. He's I wasn't in the newsroom a lot with him per se, but he was really the guy who took me under my wing my freshman year because he was a sophomore, and throughout the years I would not become the journalist I was today without him and everything he did for me. So I'm saying just want to shout out to him, even though And we did hang out a lot, so we did become best friends. He's like an older brother to me, so I'm definitely gonna say Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think Caleb Kaufman is someone that I have to shout out. I really started growing as a journalist my junior and senior years when I became an editor. And those were the first years Caleb came to the IDS. And he's been fantastic. He's super fun to be around. His mannerisms and attitude are second to none at the IDS, and it's always a joy to sit in the football group chat with him as he's editing my work now. So big shout out to Caleb. It's been a blast these last 2 years at the IDS with him.
All right, next rapid fire question for you guys. DJ might have stolen the thunder on this one already, but what is your favorite spot in B-Town, on campus or off campus? I'll start with DJ.
Man, I just love the sample gates. There's nothing more symbolic, I think, of IU than just whether, like, I was so fortunate to just pass through the sample gates to get to the media school every day on campus. It's the one landmark on campus that I feel like I'll remember the most. And even though it's not like there's not exactly something to do there, it's just something that's always going to stick in my mind. I pass through them every day, getting off the bus, getting picked up by whoever was going to end up dropping me off at home. So the sample gates are going to stick out in my mind for probably the rest of my life.
I'm gonna kind of cheat here, and I'm gonna say Franklin Hall. It's kind of cheesy, but for me personally, I was the last class in the original journalism school when I was at the High School Journalism Institute in high school over the summer, and then so I even got to tour Franklin when it was under construction. So it was just amazing to be one of like the first classes there, and it always be special to me, especially. And we're really lucky that it's right by Snowball Gate, so that kind of does add to it to where it's in the background. And even though it does need a parking lot, a legit parking lot for students, it's always something that's going to be probably my favorite place.
You know, that's two committed journalists when their favorite place is basically right around where they're always working. They don't go anywhere else, but they're always working hard. So
Absolutely.
Two more questions for you guys, a little bit fun. One thing that all of us have some bad habit we started in college because we're living on our own for the first time. I should clean my shower a lot more than I should. What's a bad habit that you guys have developed in the last 4 years living on your own for the first time and being in college? We'll start with you, Phil.
It's a good question. I don't know. I have a lot of bad habits. I guess buying food at the grocery than just neglecting it. When Goodfellas or something, because I can do Goodfellas pizza and that'll last me the whole day. I'm totally fine. So I guess that's a really bad habit I got, was spending $40-50 at the grocery, saying, yeah, I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna eat that. And then I'm like, you know what? That 4 for 4 is looking real funny right now. So that's really what I regret, is just I wonder how much food I wasted during my time living off campus.
Man, that's exactly what I was going to say too. Just developing good habits in terms of eating. Also,
it's so hard.
Also being too lazy to exercise. I'm so out of shape. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and now I don't even know if I could run a full 400 meters right now without like keeling over and dying. So yeah, it's basically just food habits and exercise habits. I've been looking to see if I can break out of them and try to be a little more fit here in the next year or two, but we'll see if that actually happens.
No offense, DJ, but when I found out you're on your high school football team and we're a strong player too, I was a little bit surprised about it.
4-year starter. I don't care how small I was, I could still tackle you because I'm launching myself at your ankles.
It is all about the heart, so
LEO, baby. LEO.
LEO.
All right, last question for you guys, kind of piggybacking off that last one. You guys are going to graduate from college, well, this afternoon, and go out into the real world as adults. What is the one thing you're most looking forward to do now that you're not a college student and you're a full-fledged adult out on your own? We'll start with DJ.
Oh, sure. I just think the adventure of trying to find new opportunities and kind of finding yourself almost in a way. Like I know both Phil and I have said, like, we're still trying to figure out exactly what we want to cover going into the future. So I think a lot of the fun in it is going to be just searching for different opportunities, seeing what kind of speaks to us, and just getting out there and doing it. That's going to be the most fun.
I kind of got my first taste of it over the summer of just being 100% committed to journalism, and that being my only thing that I really have to primarily worry about, rather than classes, and still writing journalism for those classes, but you have to write other journalism on the side for your actual job as a beat reporter. So I'm just kind of looking forward to finally being able to be like, all right, writing is my main priority. I know, like, I've been really fortunate. I will probably have news coming soon of I'll probably be back writing starting next month. I've told a lot of people what it's going to be so far, but I'm just waiting for paperwork to go through until I make it officially official. So stay tuned. But I'm just looking forward to finally being able to call myself a professional journalist and hopefully have a long-lasting career, which I know wouldn't be possible without every single second I spent at IU.
It's powerful, wise words from both of you guys, and really appreciate you guys coming on today, knowing a really exciting last 2 days. Congratulations on graduating, and just thank you for everything you've done for me personally over the last couple of years. And I know everyone at the IDS and the media school have been touched by your editing and your mentoring and so much that you guys have done, and just being great people as well over the last couple of years. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for having us again. And it's been so unbelievable to see people like you, Griffin. You're doing such great work, and it's so funny to just think back and remember some of the first stories you wrote for me when you were a freshman. But you guys are doing outstanding work, and I'm super excited to keep following everyone, whether it be on social media or whatever outlets you guys end up working for. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm really thankful. I remember, Griffin, I was a little upset when you kind of left IDS, but I knew, especially what you're going into, is perfect, and it was exactly the right opportunity for you. So I was really happy to see your growth, especially as a journalist.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, thank you for having me on, and I wouldn't rather have anybody else except for DJ after these past year and a half, 2 years, or how long it's been. We're doing it together, so there you go.
So many your first time editors together, first time Little 500 beat reporters together, and now we're graduating early in the same semester. It's so fun. And
you did live in the same room as me this year, so even though we worked together, you took over my lease free. So there you go.
It's funny how life works out like that, guys. Again, we really appreciate it, and just best of luck going forward.
Thanks, Griffin.
That will do it for today's episode of Unpaid Interns and concludes our senior spotlight series this week. It was just so fun having all our seniors on. Just big shout out again to Drew Fry, Haley Jordan, Phil Steinmetz, and DJ Fezler for all coming on, sharing stories, sharing advice. If you missed any of them, you can check them out and all of our Unpaid Interns out on our IU Sports Media YouTube page. You prefer to listen, you can check them out wherever you get your podcasts. We are going to be back on Monday. We have a really special guest. Oakland A's radio play-by-play broadcaster Ken Korak is going to join us on Monday live on the IU Sports Media YouTube and Twitter pages. You don't want to miss out on that. Until then, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again real soon.